Bon dia, good morning, and welcome to this webinar, Circular Economy Hotspot Catalonia. My name is Peter Woodward, and it's my honor to moderate this conference, sadly online and not live in wonderful Catalonia. My role is to help us through what I hope is going to be an absorbing, inspiring morning of conversation about circular economy. But right at the outset, to offer an official welcome to the conference, I introduce via video Damia Calve, Minister for Territory and Sustainability in the Government of Catalonia.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a very good morning. On behalf of the Government of Catalonia, I would like to invite you all to a taste of the Circular Economy Hotspot Catalonia. As you know, the 5th edition of the CE Hotspot should be taking place this week in Catalonia, but due to the uncertainty involved in traveling and in attending public events, we have been forced to postpone the event until next year. But we wanted to keep up the momentum gathered to the date and to maintain the enthusiasm and involvement of the circular economy community by holding this year's conference online. Let me explain you a little bit about Catalonia. Catalonia has over 7.5 million inhabitants and have a long-standing industrial tradition, a strategically important agricultural and livestock sector, which has made, after all, Catalonia the leading logistic infrastructure in the Mediterranean, and also a powerful tourism industry. Given these economic characteristics, I'm sure you can imagine the considerable challenges that we face as the environment, the water and waste management, the biodiversity conservation, and the fight against climate change are concerned. All these issues are dealt with our maximum effort and rigor. We are all aware that the world is facing enormous challenges, particularly in the current difficult circumstances. The challenges raised by the 2030 Agenda notably include some goals that are crucial for boosting green recovery, for promoting sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. This is the SDG number 8. For building resilient infrastructure, encouraging inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and fostering innovation. This is the SDG number 9. And for ensuring sustainable patterns of consumption and production. This is the SDG number 12. As a public administration, in order to rise to these short and medium-term challenges, we must fulfill 4 major functions. First, build the shared vision for resilient recovery based on net zero emissions and circular economy. Secondly, stimulate our economies by creating suitable ecosystems for business, support entrepreneurship, and drive innovation with a view to speeding up the transition to a circular economy. Third, plan a specific percentage of recycled material in all textiles. And finally, unlock circular investment opportunities in order to meet key public priorities. In Catalonia, the main policies for encouraging a circular and climate neutral economy have been coordinated through instruments for providing information, deploying facilitating regulation, creating new lines of financing, offering advice, implementing RDI projects, planning strategically, and collaborating internationally to learn from other countries and to position Catalonia as a circular economy benchmark by demonstrating the successful initiatives being implemented here, just as we shall do at the CE Hotspot Catalonia 2021. In early 2021, we shall launch the new roadmap for the circular economy of Catalonia. Its mission is to speed Catalonia's transformation towards a circular and net zero emissions economy and to provide a springboard for economic recovery in a coherent political framework that, on the basis of public-private collaboration, encourages synergies with cross-cutting and cross-sector policies and meanwhile involves all citizens. Another significant initiative is the establishment of the Catalonia Circular Hub as a node for innovation and meeting point for numerous companies and bodies which we collaborate closely and that offers solutions and strategies for implementing and consolidating the circular economy. It currently has 130 public and private best practices, some of which can be visited during the CEE Hotspot 2021. I therefore feel very proud to acknowledge that in Catalonia we have some very significant and successful circular economy cases. We wish to extend this to the economy of the territory as a whole through the coordination of public-private partnerships that establish solid collaboration strategies among business leaders and governments, ensuring that the circularity model is implemented in our society requires the involvement of everyone and making this goal a shared challenge. In the short term, we are faced with the challenge of smartly investing the European funds from the Next Generation program, which means, after all, the injection of an extra 750 billion euros, and which includes the establishment of a framework for facilitating sustainable investments. It therefore represents both a great opportunity and a challenge for jointly defining major country-specific strategic projects that helps us to coordinate and deal with social transformation. Over the next decade, Catalonia, like many territories all over the world, will have to face the greatest disruption ever in terms of energy transition, mobility decarbonization, and circular economy in order to achieve carbon neutrality. This major shift must be driven by all sectors, governments and citizens. All of these challenges will also be collected in the 2030 Catalonia Green Agenda, that is our roadmap for the social and economic recovery, the deal of the government of Catalonia to overcome both the health and the climate crisis. The latest economic crisis triggered by COVID makes it more important than ever to ensure that our societies do not revert to, let's say, business as usual. It presents a real opportunity to accelerate the ongoing shift towards a more resilient, circular, and inclusive economy. I have to say, and I want to share with you, that I am optimistic that we shall be successful in doing so, even the difficulties that we may find on our way. I'm also convinced that the circular economy is a driver of competitiveness, innovation, and employment, and helps to reduce threats to the environment. And Catalonia is also a driver for economic growth in the south of Europe and the Mediterranean area, and a starting point for all kinds of green initiatives. I therefore wish to make the most of this opportunity to invite you to visit Catalonia next year for the Circular Economy Hotspot, where you will be definitely welcomed with open arms. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very inspiring hotspot.
So the message is make a date for your diary to be live in Barcelona from the 15th to the 18th of November 2021. I've been so looking forward to this webinar because I've heard much about what is going on in Catalonia. We need these shining examples of real commitment towards circularity. And I'm already getting that sense that there is so much going on, so much for us to learn. We're going to hear more through this morning about aspects of circular economy and the journey being taken here in Catalonia. But for now, we're confined to the webinar format. And just to inform you that we're connected to nearly 1,000 people who've registered for this webinar, coming from over 44 different countries. So hello right across the globe, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm speaking to you from the UK, where the winter sun is shining strongly, but I'm sure not as strongly as it is in Catalonia. We hope you'll be inspired and challenged in equal measure. Inevitably, the opportunity for participation is limited, but we encourage you to use the Zoom chat function to submit any comments and questions you may have, particularly through the core discussion we're shortly going to have. And if you do that, it's also helpful if you include some hint of your name and maybe the country you are speaking from, so we can get a sense of where you're coming from. We may not have time to read all of them out during the session to be involved in the discussions, but they will give us a really good feel of what you're thinking and concerned about. So at our heart of this morning's webinar, we're really going to be exploring the whole issue of circular economy, where we are at now and how we drive and accelerate things forward. So in just a moment, I'm going to introduce Marta Sobira, who is going to introduce the next panel. But first of all, just a brief video. So at the heart of today, we want to explore the current state of circularity and how to scale it up and accelerate that journey forwards. Shortly, we'll have a panel of discussants to share their perspectives, but I'm absolutely delighted this morning to have Marta Sobira, Secretary for Environment and Sustainability in the government of Catalonia, who is going to introduce our keynote speaker. Marta, good morning to you, and lovely to have you with us and for me to be part of this amazing occasion.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning. Bon dia a tothom, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you all really a very good morning. The sun is shining also in Catalonia. And today it is my pleasure to introduce you to John Elkington, founder and chief pollinator, as he likes to be called, at the consultancy firm Volans. He is one of the founders of the global sustainability movement, an experienced business advisor and a highly regarded keynote speaker and contributor from conference to advisory boards. His expertise ranges from management consultant to sustainability guru. He's a writer and a thinker, a serial entrepreneur, and also, I would say, an advisor of the future. In 2008, the Evening Standard named John among the 1,000 most influential people in London, describing him as a true green business guru and as an evangelist for corporate social and environmental responsibility long before it was fashionable. In 2009, a corporate social responsibility international survey of the top 100 CSR leaders placed John fourth after Al Gore, Barack Obama, and the late Anita Roddick of The Body Shop, and alongside Muhammad Yunus of the Grameen Bank. He was a faculty member of the World Economic Forum from 2002 to 2008. He has served on over 70 boards and advisory boards, and he has won multiple awards and is the author and the co-author of 20 books. The latest one, Green Swans, The Coming Boom in Regenerative Capitalism from Fast Company Press, was published in April. Thank you, John, for joining us today. I very much appreciate and thank you for your kindness and readiness to support the Catalonia Circular Economy Hotspot. I am looking forward to your always inspirational speech on how to expand corporate and individual responsibility to the resilience and the regeneration of our economic systems through a circular economy. With reference to your latest book, there are many green swans in Catalonia. Catalan firms that are becoming simultaneously environmentally restorative, socially just, and economically inclusive. And today we will hear from a few of them. Green swans that seek new, innovative, disruptive solutions that include mindsets, technologies, business model, and policy frameworks that are already at work, but they need help to reach the necessary pace and scale. I am sure your speech will be full of inspirational ideas to help these companies and many others to achieve their goals. John, with great, great pleasure, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marta, enormously. And it's wonderful to see you again. Can I just check, can you hear me? It's always worth checking before we start. And I just want to say thank you to Catalunya, because what you've done is demonstrate leadership in the circular economy field at a time when a lot of people are talking about that agenda, but a lot of people are not actually doing what you might imagine they should be. So what I'm going to do is take you through a relatively short PowerPoint. I'm going to talk about green swans, yes, but I'm going to try and make the link between the green swan agenda and the circular economy. And I'm going to talk about the need increasingly to find exponential solutions to exponential problems. So that's basically what I'm going to be talking about. Now, everyone's talking about circular economy. It's been building up for a number of years. It's extraordinary to see, for example, in the fashion world, everything now seems to be circular, but at the same time, almost nothing is. Fashion is a very fickle, shallow industry very often, and it plays with things and then it drops them. So I think we've got to be very careful in believing the propaganda. And extraordinary things happen in Barcelona, happen in Catalonia. And I think I'm looking forward to next year and the hotspot event. And I really pray it will be face to face, because when I've been in your part of the world, and particularly in Barcelona, I have always enjoyed it immensely and learned a lot as well. But this is the world that we increasingly find ourselves in. In recent months, when I've called people, for example, in California, this is, when you look through their windows, this is what you see. And the fires have been extraordinary. Before that, it was in Australia. It's also now in Brazil, where something like 20% of the Pantanal wetlands have now burned. I mean, an extraordinary emerging reality. But I'm sort of optimistic in a way. Yes, there are a lot of black clouds around, and they won't go lift in any time soon, I suspect. But it's in times like these where our species steps up very often and does its best work. Now, in the midst of all of this, we will see more black swans, more wicked problems, more super wicked problems. Plastics in the ocean, antibiotic resistance, space debris, the climate emergency. There are more and more of these challenges, and they're building all of the time. But let me just say a couple of quick words about where I fit into all of this. And Marta, you've already very kindly mentioned the new book, This Is It. The subtitle is The Coming Boom in Regenerative Capitalism. And I'm sure when some people saw that subtitle, they probably thought I'd gone slightly mad. But let me just point everyone on the call, on the conference call, to a video that was produced a few weeks back by Doug McMillan, who's the CEO of Walmart, so the world's largest retailer. And what he talked about in his 14-minute video, and I really, really recommend everyone who has not watched it to date to view it. It's on the Walmart corporate website. If you just Google Walmart and regeneration, you'll find it. But what's astonishing about the video is he talks about circular economy, of course, and shared value, of course, but about the need for regeneration. And what he commits his company, his giant company, to becoming is a regenerative business. Now, that's a huge step forward. Now, Ellen MacArthur has always said that the circular economy is about regeneration, but a lot of people think about the circular economy as an engineering project, and you know, to some degree, it's somebody else's challenge. But when you think about this as regeneration, that can be personal, it can be organizational, it can be at the economic level, it can be at the biosphere level. So again, Walmart is not a company that I love, but this one CEO, really, really interesting message, and very much influenced by Paul Hawken, who many of you will know or know of. Now, one of the things I think we're seeing at the moment is the end of Milton Friedman's era. 50 years ago, in September, he did his piece in the New York Times talking about the single bottom line and the purpose of business being basically to make a profit. And what we're seeing now, and on the anniversary of that article in the New York Times, again, a group called Imperative 21, so 300 organizations around the world, published an agenda, a reset agenda. And there are many different dimensions, and I'm not going to go through them all here, but circular economy is very much part of it. But if you look at the green one, it's about moving our economy from being an extractive organism in a way to increasingly regenerative one. And that's pretty much my theme this morning. And we're moving into a period of time where things go exponential. Now, everyone on the call will have seen this. I've used it many times. It originally came from Singularity University. We're not very good at understanding exponential trends. And then bang, you know, we say it's going to be an exponential decade. And then we have the pandemic, we have COVID-19, which has just gone ballistic around the world and produced shock waves and effects, which, you know, were predicted by some scientists, but largely ignored. And the same thing has been happening with the climate emergency. The same thing has been happening with the biodiversity emergency and so on. Now, I've showed this slide many times, but just a reminder that the Sustainable Development Goals, which I think are enormously important. I see Peter wearing an SDG badge today. Most people still understand that as an incremental change agenda when it's actually about exponential change and systemic change. And we just need to keep reminding ourselves of that fact. Now, it isn't that exponentials are new. I mean, if you look at all sorts of different technologies and their adoption rate in the last 120 years, we've seen one thing after another going exponential. And I'm drawing here on the work both of BlackRock and of a wonderful group based in London and in Silicon Valley called Rethink X, who again I very highly recommend. One of the recent studies that Rethink X did was to look at precision fermentation, and particularly in this case in the United States. And what they're predicting is extraordinary. A 50% reduction in cows, so this is for cattle ranching, it's for dairy production and so on, 50% reduction by 2030. Now, even if that's by 2050, That is a huge shift. So technology is coming in and it's starting to disrupt one sector after another. RethinkX have looked at transportation. They've just done another study on energy, and the trends are the same wherever you look. They're exponential trends. Now, the question is, how do we take those sorts of dynamics and turn them into the basis of an increasingly circular economy? I just want to pick up on the green swan story. So you'll have seen diagrams like this repeatedly in recent years. This one shows solar costs, and it projects them out to 2050. And it's an astonishing trajectory that we see, which is suggesting that solar energy, wind energy, battery storage will increasingly, as a combination, as a system, start to deliver energy at cost levels which are radically lower than even from existing fossil fuel power plants. So one of the things that we've recently done is to set up a Green Swans Observatory to track some of the exponential market trajectories in different parts of the world. And that's part of the context. And we keep getting this wrong. These are projections made in terms of the future of coal based energy, and what you'll see, the dark dotted line, is what has turned out to be the reality, and the more or less parallel lines are the forecasts that we keep making, that things are actually just going to sort of more or less go on as they are, when clearly we're seeing a great unraveling in different parts of the energy industry. And I think what we're actually seeing is an old system not just gently declining, but flipping, where a new system comes through with very, very different dynamics. And again, all of this is based on RethinkX's work. And I think, again, what we're seeing is virtuous cycles and vicious cycles, and under the vicious cycle heading, basically death spirals, where we keep assuming that parts of our economy will go on more or less as they have been going on, and with a few percentage points change. Not so. What we're in the process of seeing is new economies of scale, much better capabilities, radically better public acceptance, radically lower costs, and then a range of positives alongside in the renewables sector. And you can flip that in the fossil fuels sector. So the old energy system, I think, is going to die much faster than most of us might assume. And you start to see companies like BP and Shell talking about, oh dear, in 10 years, will we be on the right side of history? And they increasingly suspect they won't. And policy is immensely important. So the hotspot idea around circular economy dynamics, really, really important, but policy is absolutely crucial to all of this. And so to argue against Milton Friedman, we actually need more government, not less government, but we don't need government as usual. We need much more effective government than we've had in the past. So government too needs to be reinvented. And when I'm asked for an example, a fairly major example of a green swan market trajectory, I often reference the EU, European Union, Green Deal. So that the numbers are something like 1.82 trillion euros, and it's dedicated to inclusive and green growth. So this is a very major new development, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays through. But again, I think the work that you're doing in Catalonia is absolutely fundamentally important. And at the heart of this is a set of rising generations, younger people. This is their future that we're talking about, and they increasingly want to be part of the solutions. And one very recent project that we've been working on this year is with Acciona, the Spanish infrastructure and renewable energy company. And we took 27 people from around the world. It's very much a global business. And we started off with a project which is about having them feed into the next 5-year sustainability plan. What it's actually become is the next 10-year plan for the entire company. And yes, Sustainable Development Goals are part of it. Yes, circular economy is part of it. But increasingly, they're embracing the concept of regeneration, because there's a vibrancy, there's an energy to that. So I've been very excited to see how that's developed. Just a final couple of slides. This is a piece of thinking and visualization that we've done with a series of companies and one regulatory agency. The data points come from them, not from us. And what you'll see is a period of our history, which really goes back to the Second World War, which is gradually coming to an end. And in fact, gradually then suddenly is the nature of the world we now live in. And responsibility has been largely the focus of what we've done to date. Now, what you hear in politician after politician, CEO after CEO, is a real concern about resilience. Are our systems resilient enough for the future? And the answer increasingly is very probably not. They are showing many signs of fragility and weakness. And the only way you can get long-term resilience is not to wish for it, not to pray for it, but to regenerate the systems on which you depend: economic, social, environmental, political, and governance, and so on. So that's why I think the regeneration challenge is so central. Now, one of the things that we're looking for, I mentioned the observatory, is for ugly ducklings. Some examples of future initiatives, technologies, business models, policy frameworks, which over time could explode and become central to the business world and wider reality. So, and the four areas that we're going to initially look at are cities, electricity, food, and money. So if anyone in this conference has got any ideas of exponential solutions that we should know about, would love to hear more about those. But we will also be looking at the Circular Economy Hotspot in Catalonia, because I think that's going to surface lots of examples, and very shortly we'll hear some more examples of those. So that's it from me. Thanks very much, Peter. I'll hand back to you, if I may.
John, that's great. Thank you very much. And I think you've probably stretched the swan metaphor with ugly ducklings to its absolute limit. But I'm really excited. Well, I'm excited to hear your optimism, because I've also been on this journey for my entire professional life, and I go through waves of sensing that we are at an inflection point, a break point, but then either politically or otherwise, we just seem to be sort of back to normal. And I think it's encouraging to hear yourself, who obviously sees right across the piece that maybe this is an inflection point that is different to possible inflection points we've had in the past.
It has to be, Peter, it has to be. And we did a conference in January this year, and the strap line, it may seem a bit rude, was step up or get out of the way. And I think that has got to be the spirit increasingly.
Fantastic. Well, what I'm excited to do is to enter a broader conversation in a few moments with a set of people who are, I think, stepping up and certainly not getting out of the way. So I look forward to you joining our discussion a little bit further as we really explore what do we need to do. Are we in a reality of change, and what more should we be doing to scale up and accelerate transformation? But for now, John, thank you so much indeed for stimulating our thinking. What I'd like to do now is we have four discussants, or people who have got a keen and key role in part of the circularity journey, particularly in Catalonia. But before that, my first speaker, who is then going to join the discussion, is from the European Commission. whatever business does, it is doing it within a regulatory and policy framework, and creating the right framework of regulation, policy, and programs seem to be essential for the transition process. It's still too easy and too cheap to do the wrong thing. The European Commission has been a pioneer in the field of circularity, really been a standard bearer. And I'm delighted this morning to give us some of the latest news on progress with the whole journey towards circularity. I'm delighted to introduce the Director for Circular Economy and Green Growth at the European Commission. Great to have you with us, Kęstutis Sadauskas. We've been on a journey together on many discussions and possibilities that we really are creating that new future. Great to have you with us this morning, also with our focus on Catalonia, and really interested just to get some of your just initial thoughts about the state of where we're at, and maybe some of the key messages for everybody listening in about taking those next steps forward. Kęstutis, over to you.
Yes. Hello, Peter. Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to join this event, which I would have very much liked to be happening indeed under the bright Catalonian sun. But we are also here in the grim Brussels. Yet the mood is not as grim as the weather might be, regardless again of all the health issues and pandemic. But as for the drive for sustainability and developments there, I'm really optimistic that this is really taking hold, and that it's really starting to happen. In fact, it has started to happen. And the fact indeed that governments and societies like Catalonian, but also elsewhere in Europe and around the world, are regularly delving deeper into these issues and looking for various solutions, for me is the best testimony that the world is really changing. Now, what Peter, you said, indeed, Commission has tried to champion, not to do it really single-handedly, but really in cooperation with many others, the transition to a more sustainable future, and as part of that, more circular economy. And what we have been following is our own plans and policies, seeing what we can do at European scale, trying to identify the most impactful ideas and projects, and to scale them up to the European level and hopefully also to the global one. Our first attempt was, and I would say was pretty successful in 2015, when we have issued the first Circular Economy Action Plan, which has been executed. And that was the first test, or you could again call it the ugly duckling at some point. Yet it has produced effects, because not only that we have adjusted some laws that guide us into more circular societies, but we have also created some wave across Europe and also wider in that direction, because we have seen various cities, regions, countries adopting circular strategies or strategies for the resource efficiency, and that is proliferating. Of course, everybody following their own ways with their own specificities, but nevertheless, that really is a very fertile ground for experimentation and to show what is the best way. And by the way, it may not be identical for different parts of society, different value chains, different cities, different regions or countries. So we are still exploring. But what we have done also is in March this year, just before the lockdown, we have released another second action plan, which we based on the lessons of the previous one. And the main lesson that we have learned is that in order to make the change, you really have to be super systemic and look at the most important parts of that system. And when you look at the circular economy from the value chain and the life cycle of a product, because very often our troubles are related to the tangible issues, is that it's too late when you try to fix it when it's already wasted. And trying to bring back to life a product is a lot more complex through the laws of entropy than if you fix it at the beginning of the process. So that's why we have said that this time around, our focus will be on the products, on consumers and on products in particular. And this is what we're working right now, trying to see how we can fix the policies, including the legislation, to incentivize the more sustainable, more circular products which can be which can last longer, products which can be reused, products that can be repaired, that can be remanufactured, refurbished, or if they really and when they reach the end of life, you can disassemble and you can recycle them back into something valuable. And for that, you need to really look at the design part, and it is, I think, widely accepted now notion that 80% of the product's fate lies in its design phase. So this is what we're working right now, and it's going to be a far-reaching proposals, host of proposals. The first one that will come out, and you will probably see this year, is a new piece of law on batteries. Batteries is going to be a test case, and we have chosen it because of the incredibly fast developments in electromobility, but also overall in energy systems, because it's not only that the number of the batteries in the electric cars that will be exponentially growing, and eventually they will be also reaching the end of life. So we have to make sure that they're in the closed loop. But also you can use batteries for energy accumulation. For instance, the battery that has been is not used, is not suitable anymore for a car when you need a stronger propulsion capacity. It can still be used for energy storage and balancing out the renewable energy, and it can be used for industrial purposes, but also in households to store the energy from solar panels, which otherwise you would either have to waste or sell to the grid, which is okay, but not every household is connected in this way. So we'll be developing that piece. We'll be releasing it pretty soon, but we will be looking mostly at the design part, is what batteries are produced of, how the materials are being prepared, where do they come from, what the battery really consists of, and what happens after we need to recover parts of it, especially the critical raw materials like cobalt or manganese or others. And that's going to be just an example, because after that we'll go to other types of products, for instance, into packaging or cars. We will be also looking into the textiles, the food, electronics. So we have identified several value chains where we need to act. But overall, then we'll try to frame it in the general law on product sustainability. And this is going to be the initiative for sustainable product policies. That's what we call. Right now foreseen for the end of next year. So within the next 12 months, that's going to be really the focus of our work. Yet we know also that we have other issues to be fixed. Even in the waste part legislation, we still have to improve quite a few things. So for instance, the shipments of waste, which in fact should not be seen as waste, but really as materials, is still hampered within the EU, but it's still 2 lakhs outside of the European Union. And that's what we want to improve, is to make sure that we do create market for secondary raw materials, but at the same time that these materials do not escape to unwanted routes and end up in landfill somewhere in Africa or in Indonesia, or in the worst case, probably even in the seas. So we'll have to fix that part as well. And we also want to give more powers to the consumers, because we know that consumers really are a powerful player here, and the message that they send is absolutely essential for the producers. But very often consumers are faced with various claims that deceive them. You can find on various products and various services which say, okay, fair, green, sustainable, good, this, good, that. But how do we know that this is true? How do we know that there is no cheating behind that, or that it's verifiable, or that we can compare those things? So with that, we will also be coming up with ideas and initiatives how to empower consumers so that they really get the true information, but also they get information how to realize their wishes to live more sustainable. For example, the availability of repair facilities, so availability of repair parts for their household goods, rather than throwing them away and buying something new. How can you prolong the life of a product? So all that is in a pipeline, and that's part of the regulatory work as well. But beyond regulation, and it's been already mentioned here, is the investment part. We are really finalizing the deals for the next 7 years for the European budget. And this is going to be really big amounts, and we have to make sure that these amounts really go to the right projects, really make the difference, make the change, because the imperative is even stronger, because part of that budget will come from the borrowed money. So we're borrowing from future generations, and those future generations will have to pay it back. So we better do something right for these future generations, that this money is really invested for their future. And that's why a big chunk of this money will have to go for the climate policies, will have to go for sustainability policy, will have to go for preserving and improving our biodiversity, and many other good things. And we have to make sure that this money really reaches the right recipients, be it regions, cities, or companies who want to invest into something good and big. And for that, we need really good partnership, whether it's for the laws or for investment or for anything else. We need good partnership. We need cooperation, collaboration between different actors here. And everybody has a role to play. It's both public administrations, starting from European Commission, but also to regional governments like Catalonia, or national governments, or municipal governments, local governments, also companies, big and small, service or manufacturing, mining or waste management, and also consumers. Every citizen in our daily lives, we have to act like this. We have to be empowered, but we also have to assume our own responsibilities and know that if we do the right thing, it will pay off at some point. So this is what drives us, in this systemic change, which is complex, but we're really, really happy to see what's happening around the world. And very often, in fact, in most cases, if not all, we get inspired by someone else. So the ideas that we are developing are ideas that we steal from someone else. We try, we test them, we look at them critically, and if we say, okay, that's really the good one, then yes, we do that. So with this, I'd like to probably turn back to you, Peter, for further exchange.
Kestutis, thank you very much. Goodness me, you've got quite an agenda there, but I think it's really exciting to hear that there's work going forward on so many fronts, and also there seems to be increasing political traction and acceptance, and that being backed up with multi-billion resources. So we'll draw you into the conversation a little bit later, but thank you very much for just giving us that sense of momentum that is moving forward at the European level. I mean, creating the environment, supportive environment for circularity is really important. But at the end of the day, it's all about delivering change within companies, on the ground, in different sectors. And now I'd like to introduce our second speaker discussant in this section, to hear the efforts of from a major business, the Port of Barcelona. And I'd like to bring in its president, Mercè Conesa. Mercè, good morning. Looks as though you have a great view out of your office window as the ships come in and go out.
Yes.
The cruise ships just sit there, I don't know. But Mercè, really great to have you with us, and interested just on some brief comments about your journey towards circularity. So Mercè,
Perfect.
you.
Thank you very much, Peter, and very, very happy to share with you some experiences and to be part of this session about circular economy. Well, I appreciate a lot the invitation to give a short speech in this very important event. First of all, I would like to share some figures about what Port of Barcelona has been doing, how Port of Barcelona is giving added value to Catalan economy, to Spanish economy. So I'm trying to share my screen. Just a moment. Okay. Okay. Let me check if you can see my screen in a presentation mode. Let me see. That's it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I would like to try to explain why circular economy is very important for the activity of Port of Barcelona. But first of all, I would like to show what's the economic position of Port of Barcelona as a port that gives economic value to all our territory. We contribute to the Catalan economy. We achieve 1.7% of GDPs, Catalan GDP. But also we try to generate a lot of employment. I mean, we want to explain that port is not only promoting economical activity, also is promoting a social value. And this social value, it means that we are contributing in 1.1% of the employment in Catalonia. And this is very, very important as well. Some traffic indicators to explain what we move and what's going on, because really this 2020 has been a very difficult year because of the coronavirus pandemic, of course, and all our indicators are decreasing. But we are not scared about that. We have confidence about the medical solutions that are arriving soon, and we have a plan to recover our activity. But we know that we have to transform this activity to be more clean and more green. So in our strategy of circular economy, we want to focus and highlight these three areas where we are working on. And we are working on thanks to the collaboration with private companies. I mean, Port of Barcelona, in our area, we have more than 500 companies that are located in our area. And with these companies, we develop and implement circular strategies. And also we prioritize the transition and environmental improvement. So I would like to talk about an initiative that it's working a lot with very good results, and it's about the alliance between the Association of Building Industry, of the companies of building industry in Barcelona area, and the Port of Barcelona, and also Generalitat de Catalunya, the Catalan government. And this is because in Port of Barcelona, we have a plant of treating rubble, of treating the rest of the building of the building activity. And this treating rubble allows us to create land for filling wharfs, preloads, and building materials. And this is very, very important because Port of Barcelona has been using recycled materials in all the works that have been developed last 10 years. So some examples, for example, replacing landfill, replacing a landfill to create a draining blackfill. This process was generally applied through the enlargement of the Adosat Wharf. You have a photo of Port of Barcelona on the screen, and in this photo there is a zoom on a special area. We have been working on this area, and to enlarge this wharf, we have been using these materials, recycled materials. So it's really very, very important for us, this policy, because we know that it means that we support to a greener activity, and we support to a more sustainable activity, economical activity. Also, I will explain that this in another area of the port, in Prat Wharf, we have been using as well this recycled material. And as I said, it's important because it's thanks to public and private collaboration. As a port, we try to have the confidence with the private companies in building industry to put on the table that we can find these materials cheaper, and also through a very smart process, I would say, because really I think that circular economy is a very, very smart process. So another project that we are promoting is also filling the cells of caissons to replace sandy material. And also for the beach of Barcelona, on all the coast, we produce from the port all these materials to refill the sand. And I think that it's also very, very important, and it's a concrete business case. About treating rubble, also we can talk about using some specific layers in the improvement works of terraces. And so you can see the tones that we have been using. It's incredible to produce, to refill this Prat Wharf and build the esplanade between all these years that we have been working in the port. So what's our main issue? That's when the port needs to begin a new area of development. A big percentage of this new area of development must be produced from this process of circular economy. I would like to highlight about the role of collaboration.
Without just to say just 1 minute, please, if we could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without the role of collaboration, we will not able to do all this process. So for us, it's very, very important, and it's the point that would like to focus today in this speech, that the role of collaboration is very, very important to develop circular economy. So I finish with some future projects that we have on the table, called generation of renewable energy and biogas from sewage sludge. And I think that I think that ports in all over the world have the opportunity to contribute to circular economy because we are actors, principal actors of the economy. So it's what we are trying from Port of Barcelona. So thank you very much.
Mercedes, thank you. Absolutely fascinating. And I love this concept of you as an agent of change. So many business, so many sectors come through and connect through you. And I can't wait to having half a day with you at the port, particularly looking at the view out from your window. But thank you very much for that presentation of some of the things that you're involved with in your outlook. I'd like to quickly turn to our next speaker. Eurecat is the technology center of Catalonia, creating innovation partnerships that really power business transformations through technology and innovation. Delighted this morning that we're joined by its president, Javier Torra. So Javier, I hope you are with us. If you can keep us within 5 minutes, you will be my friend forever, because I want to open a discussion, but I'm sure you've got some really interesting examples of collaboration and transformation. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you for having the opportunity to share with you our ideas. Let me introduce briefly what is Eurecat is a technological center. The Eurecat is really an organization who promotes the business competitiveness and the well-being of the society through basically the applied research and innovation. We have on board more than 600 technicians, and we work with more than 1,500 companies in the Catalonia area. Of course, we are fully committed with the Sustainable Development Goals, and the circularity is one of our pillars in the collaboration with the companies and with the European programs. We consider that for Eurecat is a great opportunity for innovation. It's a very great opportunity. Circular economy requires disruptive changes and radical innovations, not only in technology, but also in model of business and values. That is the reason why we consider at the same time that in Catalonia, you know, is a country with not so many natural resources, but it's a country very rich in entrepreneurship, in creativity, innovation, and connection with other countries. That is the reason why we consider that kind of new technologies developed for the circularity can be really strongly developed in Catalonia. But good. Concerning the questions about the time frame for transformation, concerning how we can accelerate, our vision is Europe and the rest of the world are currently living two transitions. The creation of the circular economy, at the same time, the digital revolution. And both developments has the power to transform really the economy and the society. And the green tech and digitalization, we consider have to move together because are the main enablers for the circular economy and present the majority of our projects. But really about the transformation, we consider we have 4 drivers basically. One of them is legislation. Finally, the country legislation moves a lot of companies and move a lot of investment towards the circularity. You know, for example, the example years ago of the asbestos, it changed completely due to legislation. Second, the market itself. Depending on how conscious is the demand side market about circularity, the companies moves in one sense or other sense. And that is important how to transfer the knowledge about circularity to the market itself. So we will talk later on about this. About the market side or the offer market side, John said we're in the time of exponential companies, exponential movements. Exponential is quite critical, because exponential is to drive a car. We get 400 kilometers per hour, and the legislation normally is going in another speed, and that is a problem in case of exponential technologies not controlled by some legislation. In any case, the third driver for us is the global agreements. If you consider the problems between markets, different markets and companies around the world, you need a certain level of global agreements. Now we are in a situation where it's quite difficult, because the multilateralism is declining a little bit. We expect that it can grow again in the future, but it needs some kind of global agreement. And the fourth driver, of course, is technology. But technology, nowadays, you have a so big assortment of new technology, and let me say disruptive technologies, that of course you have to develop new technologies, but you have to take advantage of the existing technologies, which is a big amount. The new advanced robotics, virtual reality, blockchain, IoT, artificial intelligence, etc. We have a lot of new technologies available today. That we consider that are the four drivers on this double transformation, digital and circular, in the present world. Taking insight from our experience, the approach, the first one is the approach to the circularity problems or circularity technologies is a multi-technological capacity. That is difficult for many companies, because the multi-technological approach is not possible for many companies, and this is the reason why it exists technological centers like Eurecat, who offers possible to complement the core technologies of each company. And what we have clearly seen is the advances in one technology foster the progress in other technologies. And the different technologies are interdependent, interconnected, and they reinforce mutually one to others. The second key insight is perhaps is also essential to quantify the green economy progress. Not only to evaluate the progress itself in the green economy, but also for a second question, which is to make understandable to the consumers, to the market, what is the circularity. We need easy concepts to transfer the evaluation, the quantification of the progress or the circularity of each product to the consumer market. We think that is important. We have had some path forwards in this sense, and we try to define indicators, metrics, in order to evaluate and at the same time to make understandable this concept to the big market. Just to finalize about the barriers. The barriers, one of the key points we consider we have to do is we are convinced that circular economy knowledge must be brought into the academic and vocational training. If the companies cannot hire people with sensitiveness to the circular economy, it's very difficult to manage the two important trade-offs we talk now. The two trade-offs many companies is managing trade-off or challenges depending is or the first one is it's a design itself. The circularity starts in many manufacturing products in the design. Design the product itself, design the processes involved in this design. And that is one starting point. You don't start this point every year. Many companies start designing processes every X years. No? But this designing process, which is start the circular economy, faces two challenges. One is competitiveness, and the second one is the sustainability. And inside the sustainability, the circularity. Why that? Because nowadays sustainability is something which is to be reflected in the memorandum every year of each company. Today are obliged not only to show the figures, to show the accounts to the public, but also to show the non-economical status of the company. One of the non-economical reports have to show publicly is the sustainability. That means the design is the key point, the starting point, and how to deal with the competitiveness and sustainability at the same time is one of the challenges where you need people skilled on these. And the second one, I think the companies are dealing is the obsolescence versus technological development. Obsolescence, real obsolescence, emotional obsolescence, scheduled obsolescence versus technological development. But the technology is developing so fast, so in so exponential mode, like John said before, that how to manage these two concepts, develop and technical development and obsolescence, is one of the key points you have in front of us. That's all. Thank you very much. I'll punch for discussion.
Xavier, thank you very much indeed. So, some fascinating insights, and I want to come back to this product design side and also the link with kind of universities, etc. in a moment. But really, so interesting to hear some of the learning because you're at the hub of connecting into so many companies. Really interesting work that you're doing. Before I just open the broader discussion, and I'm beginning to get one or two questions and comments coming in, so do please keep those comments and questions coming in wherever you are across the world. Finally, I'd like to bring in our last discussant. Goodness me, some sectors are undergoing evolution, revolution. The automobile industry is one such. In the UK yesterday, we announced no new petrol or diesel cars from 2030, bringing it forwards 10 years. It'll probably lead quite a lot of change there. I'm delighted this morning that we're joined by SEAT's Head of Sustainability, Edgar Costa. Edgar, great to have you with us. You are in the middle of a sector that is undergoing continual transformation, but real fundamental shift. So just briefly, would be fascinated by one or two of your comments about the journey that you're on towards circularity. Edgar, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you, sharing our views on sustainability, on circular economy, with this high-level panelists. And if you allow me, I will give you a short insights and views on the private sector, and concretely in the automotive industry. Okay. So very first, to introduce you, I would like to give you a short data information about SEAT, what we are and what we are doing in terms of sustainability and circular economy. SEAT is the main industry here in Catalonia. In fact, it is the only automotive company that designs, develops, manufactures, and commercializes its products here in Spain and in Catalonia. So in 2019, we produced in our premises, in our facilities here in Barcelona, over 500,000 cars last year. So we are employing more than 15,000 employees, indirectly more than 100,000. We contribute to the Catalan GDP by 4%, and we export more than 80% of our products worldwide to more than 75 countries. Of course, and last but not least, we are the main industrial R&D investor in Spain, which is quite linked to the challenge of circularity, circular economy, and sustainability for the next upcoming years. This means, in other words, that SEAT is big. We are a big company, and we know that we have a huge responsibility towards society, our customers, our supply chain, etc. We are working since years in our sustainability strategy in the 3 pillars, in fact, social, economic and governance, also environment. And this is in the last of these 3 pillars is obviously for the core business of our activities, where we put the main focus since years. And of course, we are also committed to Paris Climate Agreement, and we have the vision to become CO2 neutral by 2050. You have mentioned that, Peter, others also, Mr. Sadauskas has also referred to the automotive sector as a key industry to face this challenge of circularity, of sustainability, and of course, we are in the middle of this storm. We are in the middle of a massive transformation towards electrification. And this means that, well, in fact, this transformation has already started and will probably last within the upcoming next years. So circular economy in this transformation towards electrification will, of course, play a key role. We at SEAT, throughout our Move to Zero strategy, have already started facing this challenge. And to give you some examples of what we are doing, I would like to start with our production facilities. We have, since 2010, reduced our environmental footprint by 43%. Only in waste management, we have managed to reduce 58%. So we are in a right path and in the way to this CO2 neutrality objective. Also, Mr. Sadauskas has referred to batteries, to electric batteries. Of course, this will be a big challenge for automotive sector in the future. In 2016, SEAT launched a project called Sunbat, which is aimed or with the purpose to reuse batteries for stationary purposes. So second life batteries. Also, we are working in order to work on recycling of these raw materials for batteries that will come also in the future. This is the biggest, I would say, the biggest challenge in the upcoming years in terms of electrification and in terms of automotive industry. Also, another very interesting initiative that we have launched recently is in terms of materials of the products. Okay, so we are what we have launched in the last, and we have announced in the last weeks is a collaboration, a project together with the Chamber of Tarragona here in the south of Catalonia to convert the rice husks into a material called oricide, which can be replaced by plastic and which is a lighter material and less CO2 emissions. So with this project, we will be able to improve in our circular economy materials. It is still a pilot project, but we are keen on and we are putting our efforts to become a reality in the near future. And last but not least, I would also like to mention, as we are here now, right now in a situation, in a difficult situation with the COVID-19. So we are sitting here. Unfortunately, we cannot sit all together with the audience, with you, sharing this discussion. This COVID-19 obviously have brought difficulties for the companies. But I would like to mention, and I would like to highlight that we as SEAT managed to launch and to produce ventilators for the healthcare and for the Spanish hospitals in Catalonia and all over Spain. So these ventilators is just another example of how circular economy can be turned on, can be turned off, and can contribute to society and to welfare, right? These ventilators were produced, adapting the windscreen wiper of our Seat Leons and with a joint collaboration between public and private sector. So it was a joint collaboration with other entities that make possible to provide these ventilators to the Spanish healthcare system. So indeed, we are facing a big challenge that will be overcome only with the joint collaboration between public and private sectors, and of course, with a circular economy mindset. This is very important to create this awareness to society, and also we as private entities have this responsibility to create this environmental and circularity mindset. Thank you, Peter. The stage is yours again.
Edgar, thank you so much. I love that final example, but also it's just really interesting to hear the total transformation that's going on, but I sense an appetite to be part of that change. What I'd like to do is to bring all our speakers in as panelists with John as well. We've only got a few moments, and clearly what this is doing is whetting our appetite to come to Catalonia to see and believe and feel and talk through so many things that are happening. But I just wanted to maybe touch on a couple of issues, and I'm getting some comments coming through from people on our webinar. So if you've got a comment or a question, please do come back to us. And I can't bring everyone in on this discussion, but one thing I'm hearing a lot about partnerships and collaborations, and that's exciting, but I'm also hearing a thing about thinking towards product design. If you get the concept and you're getting the product design right at the front end, then you don't have lots of problems to deal with at the back end. And we had a question in from Calazato, who was really asking a little bit more, partly to Kestutis, but also I think initially to John. Just do you have some examples, some insights about this connection, particularly with the upcoming generation of engineers, designers, architects, whoever it is? We're set in our ways, we old things. Are we seeing positive connections with the new generation of technologists, designers coming through? Or is that a blind spot? Are we just repeating the same sorts of mindsets that we've always had? John, I wonder whether you just want to comment on that area as we move towards trying to do transformational product design.
Thank you, Peter. And it's a great question. The answer is that young people are embracing new forms of design in an enormously exciting way. But Javier said that there are already many technologies that we can draw on already. And I think we should be very careful about saying this is all going to be in the future. It's got to be now. And I think design schools and engineering schools are playing a very important part of all of this. And one of the most exciting areas I find is biomimicry. You know, Janine Banyas and people like that who are starting to say, how would you design anything such that it creates the conditions for more life? That's a very tall design challenge, but I think you start to see, whether it's materials or products or processes, examples of that coming through very powerfully. And I'd love to know more about what SEAT are doing in terms of their engineering and design, and, you know, going from cars to ventilators and back again. Wonderful. I'm not totally sure how that's circular economy, but I think it's certainly adaptability and flexibility.
Yeah. Okay, I wonder if I could bring Kestutis in. You know, there's been such an emphasis on the sort of back end waste, recycling, reprocessing. We've created the problem and now we're being elegant about solving it, but getting to the front end of the pipe, and also maybe creating those collaborations with our amazing university education world. Do you want to just offer a couple of thoughts about what's being done to really stimulate that end?
Yes, indeed. You know, and one thing immediately that comes to my mind is that when you look at the also revolution of the skills that people are required to have, we're going from very specific skills to transversal skills. And among those, and as we know, the communication, negotiation, you know, generic skills, one of them is collaboration, is capacity to collaborate. So that's going to be inbuilt into the requirements of the skill sets for the next generation, and for good reason. It's precisely because in most of these areas, but also for the transition to sustainability and to circularity, collaboration is absolutely key. And there we do have examples. I mean, we have different sectors which are collaborating really well within themselves and between themselves. One, for example, for me is the packaging, where we know now that the packaging producers are talking a lot to retailers, how to, for instance, make sure that it's the more sustainable packaging that is being marketed better than the non-sustainable one. And then they talk to recyclers who tell how to produce a packaging which is easier to recycle than not. Same thing, for instance, with cars. I know that car producers are talking to recyclers and dismantlers, and those that are remanufacturing by either themselves or through some delegated functions. So there is collaboration going. The third example is buildings. I know that the architects now and developers and the builders are talking to each other more than before to make sure that throughout the life cycle of a building, we introduce this sustainability idea there, so that from the very inception of when you have the sketch until the end, when you have to deconstruct the building, there is a dialogue between the different parts. So there is a lot of stuff ongoing, including with universities and researchers.
Okay, just want to check whether anyone else just wants to offer a brief word just about particularly that relationship with research, education institutions, and also that upcoming generation. Or I'll move on to another key question. I'm going to move on to another question. Interestingly, and particularly Javier, I think you emphasized this, that we do need to change the playing field. The playing field favors the status quo in so many areas. And although Kęstutis and various governments are starting to shift things, fundamentally, we're still reinforcing the current economy. I just wondered, and this I think is particularly for Edgar, Javier and Merce, maybe also John, if you had one key message for politicians, either at regional, national or European level, that you felt a message, because they like a soundbite and something clear, that would really be supportive to you in the transformation journey, what would that key message be? Edgar, I'm going to come to you first.
Yes, of course. Well, my message would be first, setting common objectives in Europe at least. Okay, so we are in European Union, and we need to homogenize the objectives, the rules, the regulations, in order to have a common view, a common perspective in terms of rules, in terms of homologation processes, in terms of this kind of topics that are in the field of the regulators. Okay, so this is the first thing I would say, just very, very quick. Also, a collaboration. We have mentioned this. I think Merce Conesa mentioned this importance of the public-private collaboration. This is very important in other regions worldwide. In the States, we have very clear examples of this public-private collaboration, and I think we need to foster this in Europe also.
Okay, great. I'm going to just be looking to Kęstutis to be nodding in terms of, yeah, kind of get that. Brilliant. Okay, Javier, your opportunity to speak to the politicians of Europe and the world. What would be your key message to them?
Well, my key message is go fast.
Faster.
Fast, because innovation is pushing slowly, and sometimes innovation is blocked by the regulations. Then the thing, my question I ask is, go fast, please.
Right, brilliant. And Merce, do you have a message to our political community?
Yes, I would say that I agree with most of proposals that my colleagues have been done, and I would say that politicians must change the mindset, and also circularity must be the flagship in this new economy. So if we want a new economy system, a new Green Deal, we must put circularity as a flagship of it.
Right. Thank you very much. And I come to you as well, John. And I'm quite interested because I'm involved in many of these discussions, and always my worry is that I have a panel and wonderful green swans who are part of a charmed change existence, but the other 80% of the iceberg is still kind of doing business as usual, and the system allows them to do it, you know, in the names of jobs or whatever. I mean, if you had any fresh message to the political community who are wanting to push this further, I just wonder what your insight might be there.
Well, a couple of things very quickly. The first is just, again, step up or get out of the way. I think that the leadership that we have, not just in Europe, but in different parts of the world, is really deeply problematic and in a number of different ways. So it's all very well, Javier, to say, let's go faster. And I think we should, but we should go faster in the right directions and with the right people. And I think one of the things that's absolutely critical now is we've got to pull younger people in, engage them, involve them, and support them as they do a lot of this stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the 100 examples of circular economy initiatives in Catalonia in a moment. But I think this is an intergenerational challenge. We will not get to a circular economy in 10 or 15 years. This is probably a 40 to 50 year minimum project. And so politicians have to start thinking that way. And the problem is that democratic politics very often don't encourage them to think, to have those sorts of mindsets. We can't simply take democracy as usual. We've got to reinvent it. And that's a big challenge, but let's do it together.
Brilliant. And that's a great way, I think, to finish this discussion. Boy, would I like to have a day with all of us. We are going to have the opportunity, I hope, to be with you in Barcelona and in Catalonia at the end of November 2021, because I think we want to explore far more deeply many of these issues, be inspired, be informed. But for now, just scratching the surface, but getting a sense of that drive that's taking place. Could I say a huge thank you to Edgar, to Javier, to Merce, to Kestutis, and also to John Elkington. And if I can also say, keep doing what you're doing and keep talking to us about it, because we need to see those living examples of green swans, ugly ducklings, and the occasional black swan, so we can think our thoughts through. But for now, to all our panelists and speakers, thank you so much indeed for your participation, and we hope that you have helped inform and inspire members of our audience to greater heights. So thank you all very much. And we're just now, just for a moment, going to just take a pause before we move on to looking maybe at some of those 100 circular economy examples in Catalonia. So in our last segment this morning, we really want to deepen our focus on some of the exciting, extraordinary, innovative activities taking place in Catalonia, and its drive on multiple fronts towards circularity. Maybe there's something powerful about feeling that energy and that drive within a hub like Catalonia. And to share some further insights, I'm delighted to introduce the director of the Agency for Business Competitiveness from Catalonia, Joan Romero. Joan, great to have you with us, and really interested to hear a little more about some of the activities and insights that are emerging from this Circular Economy Hotspot. Over to you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Peter, for giving me the word. First of all, I would like to emphasize how significant is that Barcelona has been chosen to host this 5th edition of the Circular Economy Hotspot. This event is taking place at a time that is more critical than ever within the context of a global crisis in which circular economy is being called to be one of the areas that will play a key role in recovery. Today's event is therefore the perfect showcase for presenting and sharing success stories in relation to the circular economy. The circular economy is a driver of innovation, competitiveness, and efficiency, which makes possible to increase productivity, decouple growth from the use of resources, and move towards a more circular and cooperative society, and also reduce our dependence on third parties and primary resources, particularly resources that are scarce and vital for industry, thereby increasing self-sufficiency. Sustainable companies are more efficient, with a distinctive innovation-based value proposition and a better position in global markets. The sequence of reducing, reusing, and recycling helps companies optimize their resources and materials along the full length of the value chain. The circular economy can reduce the cost of industrial processes by up to 50%. This involves modifying production methods, leading to innovation in materials, processes, uses, business models, and more. The implementation of circular economy generates economic activity and jobs, and brings significant benefits to the economy. For instance, Europe's GDP could grow by 4 to 7%. By 2030, more efficient use of resources could reduce consumption of necessary materials by 17 to 24%. Better use of resources will bring potential savings of 630 billion euros per year for the European industry. So, circular economy also plays a key role in the transformation of the industrial model. At the same time, disruptive Industry 4.0 technologies function as a catalyst for circular strategies. Examples include sensors, artificial vision, biomaterials, big data, 3D printing, IoT, and so on. In short, the circular economy offers a sustainable, restorative, and regenerative model based on the use of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and the efficient and responsible use of resources. Now, more than ever, is it vital for companies to include sustainability in their strategies and incorporate measures related to the circular economy in order to become more competitive. The benefits of doing so will also be reflected in their bottom line. Here in Catalonia, companies are not facing this challenge alone. Two of the government of Catalonia ministries, specifically the Ministry of Business and Knowledge through Acció and the Ministry of Territory and Sustainability, have been active in this area for some time and are fully committed to the circular economy. So not only the sustainable environment, also the business environment are committed to this goal. You may say, okay, we all know the challenges and opportunities of the circular economy. And you can ask me, what about the solutions Catalan companies can offer? First, let me give you some brief figures about Catalonia to place in the European context. Catalonia is a small territory, but it has a dynamic economy and it's open to the world and to business. It's home to 7.7 million inhabitants, but it's home to more than 620,000 companies. 99% of them are SMEs. The Catalan economy has an industrial base, with the industry accounting for nearly 20% of the gross value added. If we talk about foreign investment, Catalonia has been recognized for the last years as the best place to invest in Southern Europe with 8,900 foreign companies. If we talk about exports, we have been achieving records on exports for the last 9 years in a row. If we talk about innovation, Catalonia is by far the leading region in Europe in number of companies awarded by the SME instrument of the European Commission. And if we talk about startups, our startup ecosystem is in the top 5 in Europe. So we have a strong and very competitive business base. So what about circular economy? What are doing our companies in this field? Regarding to circular economy, Catalonia boasts critical mass in this field with nearly 400 companies, 391 to be precise. Over 90% of these are SMEs, and they have a turnover of 11 billion euros, of which 4.1 billion are specifically for circular economy. And they employ nearly 70,500 people. So a lot of people working in this area. Those companies are active in the following markets: waste, the biggest one, materials, renewable energy, water, and life cycle assessment and eco-design. Catalonia has the necessary assets to lead the transition to the circular economy with a powerful, innovative ecosystem. It concentrates the largest number of innovative companies in Spain. Catalonia boasts leading technology centers, we have seen, Eurecat, like that, and others, to promote projects in key areas for the circular economy: materials, energy, water, and chemicals. We are a leading hub for startups, I mentioned before, but we have also a very interesting clusters policy, and in our program, Catalonia Clusters program, that has a strong commitment to circular economy. More than a half of the clusters in the program incorporate circular economy criteria into their planning and are developing inter-cluster projects that offer shared value. Of particular note are the clusters that specifically focus on circular economy, such as the Catalan Cluster for Energy Efficiency and the Solar Energy Cluster. Others, such as the Water Cluster, the Packaging Cluster, and Advanced Materials Clusters, are taking a cross-sector approach to developing the circular economy. I should also point out a number of major industries are in the process of developing or applying circular economy solutions, especially with regards to chemical and smart cities. So we have the assets, experience, market, companies, technology to become a benchmark for this sector, a sector that is growing and generating major opportunities. In recent years, circular economy strategies have increased in all the areas, especially in foods, chemicals, materials, mobility, water and energy, in which they have been implemented more rapidly. Okay, so we ask ourselves, why don't we show what we have? So we decided to prepare a catalog with the top 100 leading solutions in Catalonia that I'm introducing you today. And the best way to do it is to share a video presentation of it. So please, let's see together the video Leading Circular Economy Solutions in Catalonia.
How about trying to make our products and services circular? Finding solutions to design waste-free and non-contaminating products. Maintaining the use of products and reducing their impact. And helping to regenerate natural systems. Introducing the catalog that features over 100 innovative circular economy solutions from Catalan companies aimed at addressing new future challenges. Think about textiles that could help to improve urban air quality, being able to turn organic waste into bioplastics, transforming biomass into green hydrogen, or improving waste treatment via robotics and artificial intelligence. The leading circular economy solutions in Catalunya catalog brings together business projects to change the world around us by using our resources more efficiently. Solutions that come from different sectors of the Catalan innovation ecosystem, covering fields such as water, waste, energy, and new material creation. Let's make our products and services circular. Let's turn them into opportunities. Explore the leading circular economy solutions in Catalunya.
I think that the strength of Catalonia Circular Economy ecosystem has been made up abundantly clear in the video. As we have seen, the leading circular economy solutions provide details on more than 100 innovative circular economy solutions that have been developed in Catalonia for application in leading industrial sectors linked to water, energy, new materials, and waste. The complete catalog can be downloaded on our website, catalonia.com/circular economy, catalonia.com/circular economy. In this huge and extensive catalog, you can browse all of the cases and search by sustainable development goals, for instance, or you can browse by verticals, water, waste, energy, new materials, or also by sectors for industry, chemical, energy and water, health and well-being, sustainable mobility, and so on. The video has highlighted some interesting examples, but let me point out other solutions that have been made in the catalog. For example, a solution to promote the reuse of surgical clothing, which is more important than ever in the current context, a project made by Axioma. Another one, a solution to achieve eco-friendly batteries for single-use applications made of paper, carbon, and small quantities of non-toxic metals made by the Fuelium. Another one, a solution to improve our environment and people's quality of life by developing a more efficient and responsible mobility, electric motorcycle rental, bike ultra, or set that we have seen before. Or another one, to achieve photovoltaic panels that work without sunlight by using the same protein that humans need to see in the darkness, used to generate electricity by proton. All of these solutions provide an excellent example of the extensive ecosystem that is in place here in Catalonia. Catalonia has demonstrated a strong commitment to sustainable development, the green economy, and in the recent years, the circular economy. For some time now, the government of Catalonia has been addressing the challenge of moving towards a more responsible use of resources that provides competitive advantages, promotes the development of new activities, and creates new jobs. Axioma has integrated the circular economy into its programs and services, and is presenting it as an opportunity for innovation and reindustrialization. We have a circular economy strategy and can provide companies with a set of tools to implement it. Today is not my goal introducing you what we are doing to support circular economy projects. But if you need support assessment or you want to know which are the grand schemes that for circular economy projects that we have, don't hesitate to contact us. Just give me the opportunity to summarize some ideas. I'm convinced that this event will allow us to share successful experiences related to the circular economy, such as the leading economy solutions that has been promoted from Catalonia. The circular economy has an extremely positive impact on the economy and society and represents a major opportunity for companies to become more competitive. Now, more than ever, we must take advantage of this opportunity, especially because Catalonia is well positioned in this field of the circular economy, as the Ellen MacArthur recently recognized. The government of Catalonia will continue to support the circular economy as a driver of innovation and competitiveness for our business community, especially in this current context. Thank you very much, and I'll give back the word to Peter. Thank you very much.
Ron, thank you so much. And I can't wait to be thumbing through the 100 circular economy examples in Catalonia and to seeing some of them. And I'm sure from those pages of examples, there will be some green swans flying, but we hope also some ugly ducklings that are the disruptors that are going to be creating that future. So thank you very much indeed, Joan.
Thank you.
So we are almost at an end of our morning. Goodness me, tasting so much that is taking place and prospects for the future. I now would like to leave you with a last word as we draw to a close. I'm sure you're getting a real sense of Catalonia, not just as a circular economy hotspot, but maybe as a place of real optimism that authentically sees its future as a leader in responding to the wider sustainability challenge that's facing us all. And I leave the last word to the Minister of Business and Knowledge in the government of Catalonia, Mr. Ramon Tremosa.
Good morning. As a Minister of Business and Knowledge of the Catalan government, it is an honor to participate in this new edition of the Circular Economy Hotspot, which Catalonia is hosting for the first time. This event is a great opportunity to showcase the leading public and private initiatives that are promoting a more economic circular model. Choosing Catalonia as home to such an important event demonstrates our potential and our commitment to sustainability and circular economy. Firstly, Catalonia has a powerful innovation ecosystem. Some examples are Eurecat and Leitat, two main technologic centers which have been working on solutions in this field for a long time. Secondly, I would like to highlight that the Catalan government has been pioneer at international level in the implementation of the Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Moreover, the government of Catalonia aims to allocate at least 25% of its investments to fight against climate change in line with the objectives of Europe's Green Deal. All these initiatives set out the steps to be taken in the coming years to more towards sustainable development. Thirdly, Catalonia has long been committed to achieving a growth model based on sustainability, a responsible, productive, economic and social model. For example, our government has led the implementation of eco-design and waste policies. Our commitment to sustainable growth is also materialized through other instruments such as National Agreement for the Catalan Industry that defines the priorities and main guidelines of industry policy, and Research and Innovation Strategy for the Smart Specialization of Catalonia, which includes areas of chemistry, energy and resources, and sustainable mobility industries. Finally, National Pact for Energy Transition, that its goal is reaching 100% renewable energy by 2050. In conclusion, sustainability and circular economy are priority areas for Catalonia, and we have an excellent position in these fields. Your choice of Catalonia hosting this event of Circular Economy Hotspot demonstrates it. The government of Catalonia will keep on working to achieve a more sustainable, efficient, wealth and employment-generating economy, which in the current context is more important than ever. Thank you very much for your attention. We look forward to welcoming you in Catalonia next year for the Circular Economy Hotspot.
So now is the moment to click on your e-diaries and put the 15th to the 18th of November firmly in your diary for some real inspiration. And just to further whet your appetite, we've got a final video clip just as a reminder of what to expect in the Circular Economy Hotspot Catalonia 2021. So there we have it. Just to announce that following today, a recorded video will be published at the Generalitat YouTube channel, and all participants will receive a link to access this following today. And it just leaves me to once again thank our speakers for their insights and inspiring words, to the organizing team of today's webinar, to the previous Circular Economy Hotspot organizers upon whose shoulders we climb, and to our 2022 hosts, Bottrup in the North Rhine-Westphalia region of Germany. And lastly, a huge thanks to all of you for taking the time to view this webinar and for following our journey today, and maybe to you especially for your ongoing efforts to make the circular economy a living reality. For my part, I've been excited and inspired, challenged by the tasters we've had this morning, and can't wait to see many of you in person, I hope, in November 2021. And we hope really that this webinar has been an amazing journey around circular economy and how to make it a living reality. And we hope this morning has proved that the time is now, the answer is circularity, and we see you in Catalonia next year. Until then, adieu.